All right, everyone, we'd like to get started. We'd like to welcome Viktor Hovland to the Media Center here at the Players' Championship. Viktor, making your fourth start here at TBC Sawgrass, finished tied for third last year. Just some opening comments on your comfort level on this golf course and the challenge you look forward to this week.
Yeah, I like this golf course a lot. I'm a big fan of Pete Dye golf courses in general. And I think this course does a really good job of separating the players that are on their game that week. And if you're a little bit off, you get penalized. There's a lot of really tough visually tee shots and small greens. And there's good opportunities to shoot low scores, but at the same time, there's a lot of water and other things going on. So I love the golf course and played good here the last 2 years. So hopefully try to build on that.
Perfect. All right, we'll just go right into questions. If you have a question, just raise your hand, and we will get a microphone over to you. It's right here with Sean.
To your right, Vic.
Right over here.
You said you're a Pete Dye fan. Why is that the case?
I just think he builds fair golf courses, but off the tee, it might not necessarily look like there's a whole lot of room. But when you get up there, there's plenty of room. So it's just visually intimidating, and I like how he uses angles really well, particularly on par 3 holes. For example, I play Oak Tree National a lot when I'm in Oklahoma, and there's a lot of greens that are tilted on the sides where you usually have water on the left side, and if you bail out right, now you have a really tough chip from a collection area where the green kind of runs away from you. Things like that. It might only be 170 or 180 or 190 yards, and it's enough room on the green to work with, but it just tests every single shot that you have. So I think he's just a genius, and I really like a lot of his golf courses.
Okay, let's go back in the back to Dan there.
Hey, Viktor, for many who will never play this course, how would you describe what it feels like to step onto that 17th tee and play such an iconic hole?
Yeah, it depends if you're playing a tournament or just a practice round. It definitely plays a lot different. In the practice round, it's just a sand wedge, gap wedge, or maybe a pitching wedge, depending on the conditions. But it's, if the water wasn't there, you would almost never miss the water or hit it in the water. So that definitely, the contrast definitely jars into your head a little bit, and then with the wind swirl in and stuff like that. So even though it's such a short shot, it's definitely a lot to think about. And yeah, it's just super iconic, and it's really cool hole.
Okay, we'll just go to Mark here on the right.
Hey, Viktor. With regard to Scottie and the run that he's been on, can you speak to that consistency level for him, and kind of as a follow, and what your impression of that is, but kind of as a follow, he doesn't seem to have very much of a star power aura around him like a Rory or a Rahm or that kind of thing. And what is it about him that he is so under the radar while he's doing such great things with the golf clubs?
Yeah, the level of golf that he's played the last few years has been very, very impressive. I've personally had some really, really nice ball striking weeks, and I feel like periods of time I could match that, which I believe I can. But for him to have done that for so long and won so many tournaments that he's done the last couple of years is very, very impressive. Because you get into periods of times where you feel like you can't miss and you're hitting it on a string, but then next month it might feel a little bit difficult. That's the game of golf. But he just seems to keep doing what he's doing. So he's obviously doing a great job there, not just physically with his golf game, but also mentally, because that takes a lot of toll on you mentally, just to be up there every single week. It's very, very stressful. So he's doing a lot of things right, and I think when you're playing that great, you don't necessarily have to be the guy that has the loudest opinions or walk around there and think everything you say is gospel. So I think he's handling this in the right way, and it's probably something that helps him play better, because the louder you speak or the more controversial opinions you have, you're just going to bring more attention, and it's going to be harder to play golf. So I think he's doing just fine.
Okay, just right here to Shane.
Hey, Victor, over here. We just met the rookies. They had the little scrum out there. I think there were 22 of them, and 4 of them were from what I would think of as Nordic countries or Scandinavia, if you stretch it, counting Finland. They all credited their national programs for part of the reason that more and more are showing up, but I wanted to get your perspective. It seems like there's a big influx, and what do you attribute that to, and what do you think of it?
Yeah, great question. I really don't know. It's something that we, at least in Norway, have discussed a lot throughout the years, because we've had a federation that have sent junior players to tournaments, and we've always had a very good junior program. So we've always had a lot of talent that's done well in international European tournaments, not so many that have gone to college in the United States and continue to play in amateur golf and turn pro and be as successful as they would have wanted. But I think it's a great thing that the federation is doing and sending us or kids to have opportunities to match yourself. Because one thing is growing up in Norway or Sweden or Denmark or Finland, you play against your peers, but you don't really know how good you are until you kind of breach out of that scene and test your game amongst other guys that are better than you. So those opportunities are huge. But I will probably say, not to dog on the Norwegian Federation, but it seems like at least the Swedish program and the Danish program that I'm a little bit more familiar with, they've kept up that support in amateur golf when the juniors start to get a little bit older and even kind of in their professional career. So I don't know what the reason is for some guys becoming good or not. I think that's kind of the reason for the debate, because we just don't know. But it definitely seems like Scandinavian golf is figuring something out the last few years.
And then semi-related, but another rookie that we met was this 42-year-old player named David Skins. I don't know if you're at all familiar with him, but I just wanted to ask you what you thought, because it's very different from your experience, where he's a long-time journeyman who is now on the PGA Tour. But what do you think when you see people like that who have kind of stuck with it, and here they are 20 years later, haven't quit, and finally are kind of getting their moment? What is that like for you?
Yeah, huge respect. I don't know his story at all. I've seen him around there, and he had a chance to win Honda a couple weeks ago, I think I saw. So he's obviously a great player. And, just massive respect, because I think the guys that persist without getting some sort of results for a long time, they're kind of looked at as, maybe losers, or they're kind of delusional. It's like, hey, why do you keep playing? Why don't you do something else? You're clearly not on a path to where you want to get. So the guys who persist and they end up successful in the future, that's really cool, and I think that's something that I have a lot of respect for.
Okay, Victor, we're going to far right over here, in the back corner there.
Way over on your right. I just was wondering, I know you guys are all trying to beat each other, but there is also, golf is somewhat unusual in that guys do help each other sometimes. I was wondering when an older player or some other player has helped you or given you some sort of tangible advice, whether it's on how to schedule yourself or how to practice or anything like that, and then conversely, whether you've paid it forward and done the same for another player.
Yeah, I remember my rookie year on tour. I traveled a lot with Charles Howell and his family. Obviously, ties to Oklahoma State, and their family is just great people, and played a bunch of practice rounds with him, even though he liked to play a little bit earlier than I do. He took me under his wing, and I just fired a bunch of questions at him, and he answered honestly. And obviously, being out here for so long, it's not about technical stuff, or it's more the smaller things, how you handle yourself, how do you handle your business, and just kind of believing that you're good enough to play out there. So it's not so much the tips, but just being around people that have the experience and they believe in you, they like being around you. I think that just gives you the most comfort. So I owe a lot to Charles Howell and his family. as it comes to other guys asking me for advice, you know, I don't find too many guys coming up to me and asking about stuff. But if they do, I'll just answer honestly whatever I have on my mind. I don't, you know, try to keep any secrets. You know, I try to, yeah, if we can all get better, I think that's cool. It just raises the level of the competition.
I'd imagine you've done the same for the Oklahoma State kids.
Yeah, I try to the guys that are willing to listen, and I'm not trying to say that everything that I say is correct. I just say, hey, this is what works for me, and you can try this out yourself, see if it works or not, because that's the tricky thing about this game. It's like you have the laws of physics. If you want to draw or fade it, this is how the physics have to be, but there's a lot of ways you can go about trying to produce that. So, and those different solutions might be different for everyone. And I think as long as you have an open mind and you keep trying and failing, you keep learning from those experiences, I think that's kind of the right way to go about it.
All right, Victor, we're just going to go here on the far left.
Victor, I don't know what type of relationship.
Sorry. Yeah.
I don't know what type of relationship you have with Gary Woodland, but I'm just wondering if I could get your reaction to how jarring it felt when you first heard the news about what he was going through, and how uplifting it may be now to see him back.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with all the information of what happened to him. I know he had a brain tumor, and obviously that's super scary stuff. And you know, the few times I've been around him and played with him, he's a great guy, handles himself very, very well. He's obviously a great player, but I don't think I've met a single person that has anything disparagingly to say about Gary. So I have a lot of respect for him. For him to obviously take some time off and have surgery and then come back right away and play out here is amazing. And I think the tour is a lot better off having him out there. So I wish him all the best.
Okay. Right here to Dan.
You made some comments in December about the leadership of the PGA Tour and how you felt like they could have handled this a lot better. Xander yesterday said Jay still has a long way to go with him. Rory just said he has full confidence in Jay. Where do you stand on your confidence level in the PGA Tour leadership moving into this new chapter?
The thing is, I play golf for a living. I don't know exactly what should have been done, because at the end of the day, I don't have all the information, and I don't know that. I can't just say, okay, this is what exactly needs to be done or should have been done. But at the same time, there were some things that were said that has been walked back on, and then things have been very contradictory. And as a leader of an organization, I will want a person like that to take some ownership and say, hey, we made a couple of mistakes, but this is how we're going to rectify it, instead of kind of sweeping it under the rug, which I felt like has been done to a certain degree. So I don't mind people making mistakes. We all make mistakes. But I think when you make a mistake, you got to own up to it and say, hey, we're trying to do better here, and this is how we're going to do it.
Ryan, right here.
I guess just a quick follow on that, Victor. Has anything happened over the past 3 months that has improved your outlook for the future of the PGA Tour?
It's a great question. To be honest, I haven't given it too much thought. You know, these signature events, for example, they've been great for the players that are in the tournaments. I don't know if that's necessarily what the fans want to watch. I don't know if it's long-term going to produce a better product or not. You know, I hear the arguments for it. I hear the arguments against it. So I haven't given it too much thought, but it certainly, I read Lucas Glover's comments last week where he said, you know, having the smaller field sizes or not making it more competitive. Yes, you're getting the best players to play, you know, the top guys to show up, but the fields are more competitive when you have bigger field sizes. I think that's just the fact. There's a reason why we're playing the Players' Championship with 144 guys. But at the end of the day, I don't know what the fans want to watch. Do they want to watch these limited field sizes, or do they want to watch the bigger sizes? I really don't know. I just don't know what trajectory we're on. I think a lot of that is depending on the fact of what happens to the live guys. Do they come back eventually? I don't think it's a great outlook if we keep being divided for 10, 15 years, whatever, however long it's going to take. So there has to be some kind of decision being met in the future.
And this is completely unrelated. Scottie has been asked incessantly about his putting, much like a year or two ago. You were asked incessantly about your short game. Just curious, on a personal level, how much does that grate on you, and how do you keep that criticism from affecting you when you're so extraordinary in one area and perhaps deficient in another?
I really don't care. I know what my game is like. I know that, that was a bad week in chipping, or I know I struggle with chipping. Like, I don't have to keep that a secret because it's all out there, everyone can see, and I'm not trying to prove everyone else that, oh yeah, I am a good chipper now. It's like, I'm going to show them all. It's like, no, I just want to improve for myself, and I go about my business. I'm pretty open about it. I'm not trying to hide it because it's all out there for everyone to see, and keep working on it. I know I can fix these things because I have shown it in the last year. I was chipping it great and was making some huge strides. So, I don't. You guys can keep asking about it, but I keep working on it and trying to fix it.
All right, let's go over here to the left to Alex.
Yeah, Victor, two things. One, you keep saying that you don't know, and I'm just wondering, is that the responsibility of you, or is that the responsibility of the tour to make you know?
Great question. I don't know. Probably there's definitely a responsibility on my side. I could have definitely gone out of my way to put more time and effort into figuring out what kind of trajectory we're on, and put myself into that debate a bit more. Although I do trust the players on the pack to represent the players in the best way possible, and I have been in communication with some of those guys to fill me in. But at the same time, I'm just not that interested in spending my free time and trying to figure out every single nuance in the situation. So I'm trying to stay outside a little bit and play my game because, I trust the guys on the board to kind of do their thing.
Okay. There's $750 million up for grabs for 36 guys, and you're going to definitely be one of them. Do you think that you should be compensated in that way?
I don't even know.
In the grants that'll be coming out of the money from the SSG.
Yeah. I don't know how the PGA Tour as a franchise works. If there is enough money out there that is sustainable, I think the players should be paid a fair share. Now, I have no idea what the fair share is. And if SSG wants to put money into that kind of grant to pay top players, who am I to say no to that? But I'm not going to throw a fit if I don't get any money, if that makes sense. So I really don't know what the finances are and how this is sustainable. Obviously, I think there should be a plan put in place, play where if the PGA Tour does better, there's more viewership, the business grows. I think the players should have some way to be paid accordingly with that growth. If that's the SSG grant that they're given, sure, that's a way to do it. But I really don't know. So, again, that's probably part of my that's something that I need to look into further to inform myself better.
All right, guys, we have time for just a few more. Over here to Doug.
A couple of things, Victor. Speaking of money, for somebody who seems to live a pretty simplistic life, did it ever register you at all last year that you won $18 million from the FedEx Cup? Did that ever sink in?
I mean, yeah, you see it everywhere on the news. So yeah, it does sink in, but it's not something that I think about all the time. It's nice to have, but it's, yeah, you know, especially when we're living in a world where money is more and more important, it seems like. So it's definitely nice to have that freedom, but it's not something that drives the decision making in my everyday life.
Okay, and then I wanted to circle back on one thing, because Jay was asked yesterday what it's like for him to try and regain trust from June 6th, but at the same time having to keep so much of this stuff private. What's it like for a player to look at Jay and want, you know, you mentioned the word ownership a minute ago, but not being able to tell you even if you did want to know?
Yeah, that's a fine balance. It's a tricky thing, and I'm not saying I have all the answers, and I'm sure Jay and the leadership had their reasons to do the things that they did. I just think there has to be some reconciliation between, okay, it's a member organization where the leadership is representing the membership, and then decisions are being made without the players knowing about these decisions or even having the information present. Then I think, you know, there has to be some transparency between that to at least save some face in saying that, hey, we represent the players and this is a membership organization or a players organization. I think that those two lines have to be reconciled a little bit better.
All right, John, and then Tom, and finish with Brody.
Victor, can you tell us whether you think there's any obvious reason why the European golfers have had relatively less success here than, say, at Augusta? I mean, is there something that immediately strikes you about the course that you think they or you might not have felt as ease about, or what?
That's a great question. I never thought of it like that. I would say Sawgrass, if anything, would maybe be slightly more tailored to European golf, because I do think European golf courses in general are a little bit more penalizing off the tee. So, and it's not the longest golf course, even though on paper the yardage is definitely up there. But it plays a lot shorter. You have a lot of shorter par fours where you have to hit 3 irons and 4 irons off the tee to place yourself. A lot of short irons and small greens. I feel like that's more similar to kind of European golf. So I don't know, it might just be mere chance or just the fact that, you know, it's 144 guys in this field. It's just a hard tournament to win. And there just aren't maybe too many European players playing in this event comparatively.
Right, just back here to Brody. We'll finish with Tom. You talked about Scottie's consistency, for example. I mean, in regard to you, when you look back now on the heater you were on last August and fall, right? Was there any difficulty mentally of just like, you know, the heights you can reach now and trying to maintain that as you've kind of gone into this year?
Yes, but I didn't kind of think of it that way. I was just super pumped that I'd gotten so much better and I got the potential out that I knew was in there. So that it was just more motivating to keep practicing and keep playing at that level, because it was fun and I knew I was capable of it. I didn't think of, oh, I hope it keeps going, or what if it goes away and stuff like that. Golf is a hard game and it's naturally going to go up and down. And, you know, that was certainly an up period, and I would feel like right now is more of a down period, but you still got to show up to work and try to get better. And hopefully we get to an up period pretty soon.
How do you feel you're at? Do you feel like you're, you know, finding something right now to get back to an up?
I wouldn't say it's more like a slower process right now. I feel like I've gotten a little bit off track, and I just need to start working in the right way again, and I think things are going to fall into place a little bit more. But it's not, I wish it was as simple as just kind of a overnight one feel and then we're back on it. This is kind of a little bit of a project, but gives me something to work on, and I believe that when this starts to get easier and easier to do, it's going to be right back to where we were.
All right, just last question right here.
Victor, you talked about your move to South Florida. How is that going to help your game, and where will you be playing out of, and why that spot you're choosing to play out of?
Yeah, still trying to figure out where I want to practice full time over there. Had a great time so far, but I haven't really been doing too much besides playing golf. And obviously in South Florida, there aren't too many other places to beat when it comes to playing golf there. So I certainly miss Oklahoma. I miss the people out there, and the golf is great over there. You get some tough weather that you have to show up and grind in, which sometimes you don't quite get in South Florida, even though it's certainly windy enough, so that gives you some challenge. But the cold days, the super windy days, and all that stuff, I certainly miss that in Oklahoma. But for everyday practice, the facilities are always in great shape, and the weather is always nice enough that you can practice putting and chipping and all that stuff. So I hopefully it will help me in the future, but it's not like, and I've told the guys that, for example, Oklahoma State, if things aren't necessarily ideal in your practice facilities, it's not the facilities that are making you good. It's you have to use the facilities in a way that's going to make you better. So just by moving to Florida, it's not going to make my game better. I have to practice in a way that's going to make me better. So, but I think it's a lot easier to do so there.
Okay. Victor, thank you very much for the time. Best of luck this week.
You got it.